5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to the Rideshare Zone, where every ride matters. And now, here is your host, Shawn, the Colorado Rideshare Guy.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode 19 of the Rideshare Zone. I'm your host, Shawn, the Colorado Rideshare Guy. You can find me on all the major socials at CEO Ride Guy. That's at CORIDEGUY. Also, brand new, you can check me out on Patreon. I'm going to start loading up some content over there. And then, of course, you can catch me on all the podcast platforms under the Rideshare Zone. Anyway, welcome in, everyone. See, we got a lot of people already in the chat. We got Twin Pine Studio. Welcome in. Awesome Amy, Bubba Sue. How you guys doing? And hopefully we can get some more people coming in here. But meanwhile, let's get this thing kicked off with the same topic we always do. Got some Waymo coming on. And I'm sure most of you already saw what was going on with that this week because it was really big news. But we got the Waymo that's still up to its annex, particularly when there's emergency situations going on, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. And you know what's really changing here. So anyway, but for those of you who didn't see what happened, I had a situation where I'll bring up the photo real quick, but this was an explosion that happened at an apartment complex. This is, as you can see, while it's actively going on, luckily it didn't reach any of the other apartments. However, 3 people, including a child, died during this fire, and 5 others were injured. Now, say, okay, well, where's the Waymo thing? Well, of course, you can guess what the Waymo did, and I'm going to show the body cam footage right now and show you exactly what was going on with this. And same old antics as always, but when's it going to stop, Waymo? It's kind of a long video, but definitely illustrates the point. Audio. So apparently we have no audio on this, but so anyway, I'll jump ahead real quick on the video here, but he's going back and forth with support right now at this point, and they're trying to get this thing going, and it's not doing anything. So hang on one second. I'm going to try one more and see if we get any audio out of it. But I'll upload this over to Patreon, and then I'll probably make a video on it as well, because this is just kind of a big mess. So as you can see, just from the body cam, the guy's rampantly running around, trying to figure out. And then, of course, now we got a fire vehicle that just went through, and the stupid thing's still sitting there in the middle of the damn road. And I don't understand why these things always have to sit there in the middle of the road whenever everything's going on. because it's not doing anything. So they finally got him into the vehicle. He gave his badge number a couple times. They're more worried about collecting the details and getting this thing out of there and trying to save human lives. So yeah, it is in the middle of the road, Amy. It was in the middle of doing some 3-point turn, according to Waymo. Well, there was a driveway sitting there right in front of this thing. And as you can see, there we go. The cop got into it. The constable, Dallas constable, got into it, moved it out of the damn way. Why does this keep happening with these things? They get this deer in the headlight thing going, and they won't get the hell out of the way. So yeah, exactly, Bubba Sue, trying to make that famous 3-point turn. Well, there's plenty of room in that just to make a U-turn. So why did I have to sit there and screw around and make this 3-point turn? It was on the wrong side of the road, by the way. If you noticed, it was trying to do it towards the wrong way. And I don't know, this just continues stupidity with it. Sorry you guys didn't get to hear the audio with it. Like I said, I'll make sure to upload that definitely to my Patreon and with some commentary on it. And then maybe make a video for the YouTube only people, and then the podcast people. Jump over to my Patreon or here on YouTube. But jump over to my Patreon, join my Patreon. It's free right now, and get the whole body cam footage of that video. But it's just the same thing we keep seeing. They're stuck in the middle of the road. They just panic and do nothing rather than get the hell out of the way. And in this case, who knows what happened? I mean, that was a pretty traumatic. I think it was a gas leak explosion. But anyway, I mean, you saw the devastation from it. So I'm definitely not right up front going to say that Waymo caused any of those, injuries or anything. But was there potential for saving a life? Because emergency vehicles got delayed in getting access to them. I mean, seconds matter in things like this, guys. So Waymo, what the hell? And I'm sure if they had a meeting about it, that they weren't going to do anything about it. So sorry you couldn't see that video at the moment, but stay tuned to it. We'll bring it up to you. And actually, while we're on it, I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead. I should have put this right afterwards. Maybe I didn't even put it in the episode at all. I didn't actually, because it was just kind of discussing that. So there is a new there's new autonomous vehicle law that was passed last year, and now it just took place last week, and we're already having problems with it. So there's supposed to be protocols for first responders. Well, clearly there's no protocols. That guy had to sit there and make his little phone call, and then they kept asking for his badge number and all that other crap. That's not the way to do it. Either give them a key fob or something that's universal to all these stupid autonomous vehicles, and then and give them access to be able to drive it away. Which brings up an interesting point. Now they're starting to, both Amazon with their vehicles and then the Cyber Cab from Tesla, they're not going to have steering wheels. So what the hell is going to happen when there's a problem like this? I'm going to tell you, Dallas, Austin, Denver, you're testing Waymos. Anywhere that's testing or actively has Waymos or any of the other autonomous vehicles, do not let them not be able to be taken over by a human being, meaning not have a steering wheel, whatever. I know they're trying to add capacity to have more drivers and this and that. That's not the right answer. You still need to be able to have a human be able to intervene and take over when these things go stupid like this one did. I mean, could you imagine if the thing was a couple feet further out and the Dallas constable wasn't able to take over the vehicle, that the access to that street was blocked off? That would have created a whole nother problem. You saw the devastation there. There's enough problems as it is. They don't need other factors like that. So good job on the Dallas constable for keeping his cool. You can hear a little frustration in his voice, and but he got it done. So good for you, man. And there's some other stuff on there that happened with some of the other Dallas constables. Those guys did an amazing job out there, and of course, firefighters and everybody else. Thanks for the work you do. And despite Waymo trying to get into your damn way with everything. So, Rideshare Rodeo says, everyone go dress up as a road cone for Halloween and play in front of the Waymos. I'm not going to go play in front of a Waymo. I'll just go collect some traffic cones and randomly throw them out there. How about we do that instead? I value my life. I know what those Waymos will do. But yeah, you're right. Probably, Steve, they won't. They just stand motionless forever. Actually, I have a video where somebody's playing a game and they did throw a bunch of road cones around and pin the Waymo in. And so I'm not going to encourage that behavior. Or am I? I don't know. Not tonight. I'm not gonna. So anyway, Traveler, welcome in. Saw you popped in, brother. And all right. So Philly has a solution to the way that apparently Waymo and Lyft handle things at events. So anybody that's a rideshare driver, and even food delivery people, you have surges. And you don't get really many of them, much benefit from them as a driver anymore. We know that it's been dwindling down pretty rapidly in the food delivery world. But Philly, there is a state representative, Morgan Cephas, that she's proposing legislation to stop surge pricing, not all the time, during large-scale events like concerts and sporting events. Oh, Morgan, by the way, I'm sorry, not Megan. Morgan. So, what are you gonna do? You gonna stop surge pricing during driver shortages? You're gonna stop surge pricing during inclement weather? It's actually one of the few times that drivers can maybe make a living wage sometimes. And yeah, Uber and Lyft are taking a lot more money still. And that's a them problem. Don't make it a driver problem. Don't take the money away from the drivers from it. But that's what they want to do. They want to just stop the surge pricing. Okay, well, then go back to a rate card and, go by mile a minute, and then the surge will take care of itself for the time that it takes to get to the passenger and then gets away from the passenger. And this is not the answer, is to go do stupid stuff like this, because it's still, the consumers aren't going to get picked up, number one. I don't do events like that because I know the time they take, and there's not any amount of surge that I've seen in several years that makes it worth getting near any of those events. So you don't have to worry about that for me there, Morgan. I'm not going to be going over there. But so any drivers out there, are you going to still do this if Philly passes this law and says, well, no more surge pricing, but it's going to take you an hour to get in and out of that event, but that's okay. Take that $12 ride. And no, that's not going to, that's not the answer. And again, this is, once again, as I've said, this is what happens when you get legislators involved in making decisions that they think is in the best interest of both riders and consumers. They don't do anything other than either drive their cars or be driven around, and don't have a clue about really what happens in the rideshare world from either standpoint. So keep your damn noses out of it. Get some intelligent rideshare drivers and passengers if you want to pass some good legislation. But this isn't the answer with it. I mean, what do you guys think? Is this something that you want to participate in? Is say, well, yeah, again, I'll sit around forever? No, none of us are going to do that crap. Again, just pay the drivers more and then limit how much the rideshare companies can take. And then, or just put a max on it, but you still might not get picked up. people have a hard enough time with crazy surges getting picked up at events sometimes as well. I mean, can you imagine what's going to happen, down with the at the Knicks game, whenever that's coming up? Yeah. Well, number one, they canceled all the all the partying that's going to go on beforehand because President Trump's going to be there. And how you think you're going to get a rideshare driver in there very easy? They told people to wait for 2 hours before they go to or to get there 2 hours early and don't take anything with them. So with all those extra security protocols and everything put in place, you think they're going to get a rideshare driver anywhere near there? Actually, it might be kind of easier to get in and out at that point. But anyway, I'm ranting about that one. I just think that's stupid. Yes, Bubba Sue, bad legislation. There you go. You summed up my 5-minute rant on that for over 2 words. Bad legislation. Simply put. Nice short way to put it there. And so, Steve and I have been talking quite a bit about the unions that are going on. We talked about the stuff that was going on with Massachusetts. One thing we haven't really hit on, we did mention it a little bit, was about the Illinois. But Illinois is looking now to a rideshare union that in early 2026, the lawmakers passed a Transportation Network Driver, a T&D, Labor Relations Act, TNDLRA, whatever. And now there's what they believe to be 100,000 Uber and Lyft drivers in the state of Illinois. And also, like, if you're in Indiana and then you come over and work in Illinois, that, they'll supposedly benefit to it too, just like the old Massachusetts garbage, yada, 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 whatever. But now they think that they can participate in, collective bargaining and then overtime pay, whatever. Support for deactivations. Well, we see how well that goes in Colorado. I mean, there's a case that I know that I've been following really closely with someone that I've got to know pretty well, that his case happened in Colorado at the December of last year, and now he's at another roadblock of not making any progress with CIDU and Colorado Independent Drivers Union. Get off your ass and go help them. Help your drivers. You're being paid a whole lot of money. So that's all these unions want. They just want to be able to create employment for their friends and family and all this other crap, and they're not going to help the drivers. Again, we're still beating this dead horse, but I don't care, because it needs to be. Every time we get a new state that brings in this kind of silliness, we need to talk about it, because eventually some states hopefully going to listen to us and stop doing this stupidity. And drivers, don't sign those freaking union cards. Don't give them any of your money, because all you're going to do is just fatten their wallets. You're not going to fatten yours. Sign the union cards with your wallet. Vote with your wallet. That's how this needs to work, guys. And now that, then people are like, oh, well, what's it going to do to Lyft and Uber stock? It's not going to do anything, because they don't care. They're not going to change their pricing. And, all you're going to do, what this is going to do, guys? This is one thing Steve and I haven't talked about. One of the impacts of this is, where the hell do you think Waymo and Tesla are going to start putting their robotaxis next? They're going to put them in all these damn states and put all these drivers out of work. And then you can still keep paying your union dues, but there ain't no damn rides, because they said, screw it. I don't want to deal with the risk. I can make more profits with having the robotaxi. All I have to do is win the passengers over. So good job. Everybody who's supporting these freaking unions, you're putting people out of jobs by doing this stupid shit. So think about the consequences to it. Come on. Newton got it right. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So, yeah, you think you're getting one thing on the short end? Yeah, you're getting something on the long end, that's for sure. But anyway, that's what we got going on in Illinois. So we got Illinois, Massachusetts. We're gonna have to start making a map, Steve, to start the map of stupidity, and we'll have to color code it. Give one color to autonomous vehicles, another color code to union, and I'm sure we can think up a couple others. We'll have to figure that out on Thursday when we have our podcast. So anyway, if you want to still keep doing gig work, don't support a union. If you want to be put out of work and be replaced by an autonomous vehicle, support your local union. There you go. My name is Shawn Strain, and I support that message. All right. What we got going on in the chat here? I don't think we have a whole lot new going on. Toyo, welcome in. See, you came in. Brian Kern, what is up? How's it going, Brian? And I think that kind of catches us up, other than some conversation going on there. Appreciate y'all coming in, and we'll just keep moving on here. So now we're going to move on to bad criminals. So there's this dude, Christopher Newell, and he got into an accident and decided he was going to flee the scene on foot because car was too jacked up. So dude goes and takes off, runs away. He's a bad guy. He's got warrants out of South Carolina, so he don't want to stick around. And so apparently he removed the license plate. He took the time to remove the license plate from his vehicle that he fled the scene from. Okay, I didn't say the guy was smart. I just said he was trying to be active to evade. So apparently somewhere along the way, while they're looking for the dude goes and orders a Lyft. Say, I'm going to get out of here. Well, by then, cops had a drone up in the air, and they were doing other things, and they spotted this Lyft driver in the area, is how they described it. They probably spotted him with the drone and saw a dude get into the vehicle. Lyft driver starts leaving the area. They got a marked car, did a traffic stop on him, and when they came up on him at the traffic stop, dude was hiding on the floor trying to make his last little bit of a getaway. So and of course they arrested him, and now he's getting extradited. Besides his crimes that he's going to be facing for this in Union County, then he gets to go to South Carolina and face his accusers for that one. So more of the story is, dumbass bad guys, all bad guys, don't use Lyft for your getaway vehicle. It's not a good option. All right, let's to keep hoofing it with the left-right express. Not bothering the poor Lyft guy. And it was probably I bet he didn't even get a tip. I'm talking about being pissed. You get, and I bet you he probably got his own. He probably got reported by the bad guy that for bad customer service and ended up getting deactivated or something on it. Brian, great point. He should have ordered a Waymo. It wouldn't have stopped. Exactly. And it wouldn't have unlocked the doors for the cops. Great point. Yeah. So bad guys, if you're gonna commit crimes and use a getaway vehicle, don't use Uber, don't use Lyft, don't use, some poor old lady's car, some lady with a kid with a car seat in the back that you got to deal with. Just order a Waymo. That's a much better solution for you. Brian, thank you for your words of wisdom to bring that to everybody's attention. The criminal enterprise of the world appreciates that pro tip there. All right. So there we go. Dumbass of the day. That's the new getaway vehicle. Waymo, get away. All right. This one, moving on to a more serious story. And back to Philly after we left Philly for a dumbass. Now we're back to Philly. That there was a 28-year-old pizza delivery guy, and guys, listen up on this one for the delivery workers. You know, you can make a lot of speculation as I tell you what happened here as to what might have transpired and evolved to cause all this. But so there was 28-year-old pizza delivery driver that he was shot and killed in North Philly. And so it was apparently a vacant property. So that throws up a red flag right there. And the phone number was apparently a legitimate phone number that the pizza was that was used to order, and they looked at surveillance video footage around there, and so dude gets out of his car, gets the pizza boxes. I think there was like 3 of them, and then he was followed by 2 people that were wearing dark clothing. And this was really late at night, too. So, I mean, there's all kinds of red flags with this, guys. So, I got to believe either, there was some kind of Breaking Bad shit going on, and it was like a drug deal gone bad or something. Or this guy was, police said they feel he was lured into the house, but it was an abandoned house. He went inside. And then that was where apparently that he was where he was shot and killed. So it's like so many red flags with this. Delivery workers, if it just doesn't feel right, don't make the delivery. There's not a damn delivery in the world. I don't care if it's a $150, $200 catering order, and if your spidey senses are going off and telling you, don't stick around, get the hell out of there. And that's the thing. Right, Brian. I mean, first mistake. His second mistake is the driver had no sense of awareness. Right. And again, that's why, my overactive imagination starts going, was this guy involved in something shady? And, was it a drug deal gone bad? And he was using the, pizza delivery for a drug front or something. I don't know. Yeah, traveler, always trust your gut. Absolutely. And Brian backed it up again. No delivery is worth your life. So, guys, it ain't freaking worth it. So, whatever. Sorry for that one there, bud. Hopefully, I don't know. I mean, there's never anything good that comes out of those, and hopefully they get the guys and they get at least equal retribution as to what happened to that guy. And like Osmami says, hell no, I'd never go inside a person's home. Yeah, that's like, no, not doing it. I don't care. I don't care how old, feeble, whatever you are. I mean, there's certain situations. I know, like Steve does curry, and he has relationships with these people that extend beyond just regular delivery. Number one, they're regular people. He knows them, gets to know them, and things like that. That might be an exception where you do that. But when you're doing just blind orders to somebody you've never met in your life, you don't know them. I don't care if I've delivered to them 5 or 6 times. The likelihood of me going in and dropping a pizza on their table for them is pretty small. So, yeah, exactly, Bubba Sue. Probably a $2 no tip order. Absolutely. So, yeah, what a crappy world, right? And then and then to continue making things bad. Not like what we just dealt with there, but back to the robotaxi world. We're going to keep bouncing around here back and forth, guys, because we got so much involving a lot of the technology out there trying to break these up. And might be bouncing back and forth, but rather than keep going back and forth. But I reported previously that there was a study that was done saying that, and other people have as well. So, I mean, it's not like I came up with some big flashing news thing, but that the rideshare doesn't actually reduce traffic. In fact, it increases traffic according to what all the studies show with it. The interesting thing is now we have a couple studies that have been done on specifically robotaxis. And that they did this study between 2021 and 2025, MIT did, and they found that robotaxis spent between 36 and 56% of their time driving empty, which is really close because I think it was about 40 some percent. I may even have the number in here that was about where it sits with humans doing rideshare, that they're spent about 40% of their time without a butt in the seat. Now the difference is usually with robotaxis, they're driving up and down. Well, actually, you get that with a lot of drivers too. They'll just sit there and run up and down, or they'll sit in a parking lot with their vehicle running, and so on and so forth. So these things aren't earth friendly. Robotaxis aren't reducing carbon footprint. Your batteries, that's a whole nother discussion for another time. But just the amount of miles, wear on the roads, and then the extra electricity use, and then sitting there with all the extra time driving empty, yeah, they're not environmentally friendly. That was an MIT study. And then there was a UC Berkeley study, and it ran from January 2024 to September 2025. And they found that 44% of Waymo's miles were driven with empty vehicles. So there you go. Falls right in line with that, with the 36 and 56. Falls right in the middle of that with it. So we're looking about 44% of the time that the Waymos and other autonomous vehicles are just spending time not doing anything productive. And meanwhile, yeah, they're not directly using fossil fuels, but indirectly they are with the coal and everything else. They got to have electricity. And then they're tearing up the roads, which a lot of that is, most that's oil-based for a lot of the asphalt roads. And so, sorry, bunny huggers, this isn't the solution for you. So the one that's talking about in 2014, there was originally a research study done by MIT, and they claimed that ride sharing could both reduce car ownership and cut traffic. Well, we've heard Dara say, oh, this is a wonderful thing. My kid didn't even have to learn how to drive because of ride share, and, blah, 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 and this and that. And, 90% of the times vehicles aren't used, and so on and so forth. Well, when they're sitting there, they're not burning fuel. So, I mean, I understand the cost of ownership thing is really expensive with vehicles, but they're not emitting CO2 emissions. But anyway, 2014, later, they continued their study, and the two authors realized that that rideshare actually increased traffic and increased CO2 emissions. We're at the freezing point. All right. Anyway, that besides the items I mentioned, that they're cheap enough that where someone might not want to walk a mile or a half a mile, they'll just go take a Uber or a Lyft. And I see it all the time. I don't pick up those rides because they're not worth it to me, because I'm going to sit out there and wait for them for 2 or 3 minutes to go collect $5, and then go drive a little ways. It'll take me way more time than what they estimate and what they think with it. So there you go. Not saving the earth doing rideshare, either with autonomous vehicles or otherwise. So let's see here. Brian says it's actually lower than you expected. Well, probably it might be. They're dependent on data provided to them. I'm sure they weren't allowed to stick some kind of device on there, Brian, and say that's what it is. But and then so given how most of my rides, it said they would never get in a Waymo or other driverless cars. I'm kind of hearing that from a lot of people too that I survey. I've had a few people that have got in them, whether one was in Las Vegas or not Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and he got what was going to be a $30 ride with Uber or Lyft, and it was $7 with Waymo. So they're buying their way into these markets, Brian. So that's what makes it a little bit tough. And so, Brian, you do nothing but short trips. That'd be interesting to have you on sometime and talk about your strategy with that, even though, that's not typically what we discuss here. But I always love to hear somebody's input on short trips. And I'm not the long trip guy. I'm kind of the in-between is where I prefer to be. But short trips means something different to some people. A short trip might mean that I drive 10 minutes and then drive another 10 minutes. Another one is like, well, I'll go a half mile and then go, a couple miles. And so it's kind of interesting that how people define short trips. So it'd be interesting to see how you think about that one too. So, all right, well, what do you think? Should we kind of go? We're still sticking in the technology world, and we've got all the stuff going on with AI, and we have all these sensors that are monitoring the autonomous vehicles, so forth. But what happens when you have an autonomous humanoid robot that decides it's going to do some stupid crap like a Waymo? Most of my trips are less than 10 miles, says Brian. Okay, so we're probably still kind of in the same market. That's where most of mine, that 8 and 10 mile sweet spot. So, anyway, so we got all this technology going on, AI being introduced. Again, it's not really artificial intelligence because it doesn't have any learning, and garbage in, garbage out, only does what it's programmed to do. And we've talked along with eVTOL. We've talked about Rosie the robot, come and do your dishes for you and everything. But we got these creepy little, iRobot things that I'm the humanoid robots. I can't deal with those. And here's a perfect example of why. Now, there's no audio with this one. Oh, did you see that? What the hell did that thing do to that kid? Let's watch it again. Everybody was kung fu. Yeah. Kicked him right in the stomach. What the hell, China? I mean, that's not cool on any day, let alone I got nothing. Yeah, Amy don't want her Rosie after that one. That'd be damn for sure. Yeah, Steve, it was in a clown. It put a clown wig on it, and you saw the little rainbow carpet and this and that. So Amy said, I saw this. I would have tossed the damn thing. I'd have more than tossed it. It would have been in a whole lot of pieces. I'd have gone Terminator. I'd have gone Sarah Connor on that frickin' thing, man. Put it in the crusher and call it done. Sarah Connor, where are you right now? We need you. Amy says she does want a Rosie, but it has to be the original, the OG Rosie. Well, OG Rosie is probably another 100 years away, so we'll probably never get to see one of those, Amy. But here it comes. We'll put a GoFundMe together if they get a real Rosie robot, and we'll get you a Rosie, Amy. We'll figure it out somehow. But guys, this is the kind of crap. I mean, if it's not programmed properly, and again, this is why there's no, it's a perfect example of why there's not AI. Because real AI, that wouldn't have happened. Real AI, the Waymo wouldn't be just sitting there waiting for a Dallas constable to get it out of the damn road. I mean, tell me, does this look like something with real AI, or does it look like something that is just a programmed piece of crap that needs to go to the trash bin? That's not AI right there. And if it is AI, then the damn thing needs to be destroyed because it's trying to take over the humans. So anyway, Rosie's with George Jetson not coming anytime soon, says Bubba Sue. Yeah. You told you'd have a personal jetpack by now. Brian, you can get a personal jetpack. They just kind of lied to you about the affordability standpoint. That's the problem with it. So you can get a jetpack. It's just not in your gig economy budget. But dude, wouldn't that be cool? I might do food delivery if I could like cruise up a stairwell, four flights of stairs on my jetpack, cruising up there. That might get me to do food delivery. I think so. What do you think? Brian, would you jump on there and start doing food delivery too if you had a cool jetpack like that? We're going to talk about flying cars. We know we always got to cover that, Brian, so stay tuned. What did Bubba Sue... Oh, Rosie's with George Jetson. Yeah, ruined your dreams, Amy. So yeah, that Chinese little robot, and they're just like, oh, well, blah blah blah, and they make up all kinds of stupid excuses for it. It's really interesting though, the lack of a reaction from the crowds. They're just like, oh, was it part of the show or something? Something psychologically had these people mesmerized, and they're all just like, yeah. Meanwhile, little Kung Pao, whatever his name was, is like, oh, my stomach, it probably got a bruise the size of a softball on him from that thing giving him a kick right in the sternum. He definitely learned what CPR felt like or something. So flying cars, they're coming. We're going to talk about that tonight. There's a new entry in the flying car world. So I did put this into it, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because it's really just stupid and annoying. But so Texas, as we were going through the thing with the Waymo earlier, Texas has now passed. There was a Senate Bill 807, and it was about commercial autonomous vehicle authorization. Well, I'm going to quickly go through this. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but how much of this has been implemented? This thing passed last year, and it just went into law last week before this incident we talked about first thing tonight with the Waymo getting in the damn way after the apartment complex exploded. It says companies operating automated vehicles for commercial transportation, blah, blah, blah. They got to get their licensing. Okay, whatever. Next one. First responder interaction plans. FRIPs. Autonomous vehicle operators are required to provide the Department of Public Safety with a comprehensive plan detailing how emergency services, fire, police, ambulance should interact with the vehicle. Well, now I got a freaking problem with it that they're the ones that are providing the plans. No, bullcrap. The agencies need to tell them how they're going to. It's not like, well, if you have to arrest somebody, that person being arrested is going to tell you how you're going to interact with them. No, bullshit. The agencies need to tell the autonomous vehicle companies how they're going to interact and what they're going to have the authority to do and what they're going to be able to do, including towing the damn thing away. I mean, they're lucky they just have not gone into the wrong jurisdiction, because, man, I know some deputies that just be chomping at the bit to be able to use that push bar that God gave them whenever they got their post certification, and to be able to push that white piece of crap out of the way. And they would not even think twice about it, and they would get praised by their upper echelon and even the sheriff for doing such an act. And that's why I don't even know why they just don't do that with these things. Just say, if you're going to operate within our jurisdiction, we have the authority to do whatever we need to that vehicle, and if that includes completely destroying it in the means of public safety, then so freaking be it. So, Dallas constables, listen up. Go get in front of whoever you need to and get them to put that as a provision. We will screw your freaking Waymo up, and it will be seized and go to the trash compactor if it interferes with any agency activity, whether it's law enforcement, fire, EMS. We'll throw search and rescue in there too. I don't know how they'd interfere with it, but I'm sure there's some damn way, because they like to interfere with everything that has to do with first responders. So, anyway, so that's one of the stupid things that they're supposed to do. So they're supposed to include instructions how to communicate with fleet support. Again, no, they're gonna communicate to fleet support how we're going to communicate with you, not the other way around. It's like, you're not going to make an owner's manual and expect them to read it. It'd be like putting an IKEA bookshelf together, a bunch of nonsense just to get to a simple task and get a simple task done. So, Texas DMV, they also now have launched an automated motor vehicle lookup page, and I was going to go on there today, but I didn't have time. But you're supposed to be able to verify the company's authorization, and then also submit a safety complaint. So I thought I'd file a safety complaint while I was on there if I was able to, because I'm not sure that one had been filed on this incident in Dallas. So I was going to go file a safety complaint if I could. I still might. I'd encourage you guys to do the same thing. So go log on, go Google Texas DMV automated motor vehicle lookup page, and maybe we should go on there and I see something in chat that got me distracted for a second. So go on there and file a safety complaint on that video that we just watched about the interference of the Waymo. So anyway, get them more of a tax. Wouldn't that help them get more of a tax write-off? Destroyed Waymo is worth what? I think it should be I think there should be a penalty to it. I mean, again, they have to make these rules for safety and insurance standards with them and all kinds of stuff, and then motor safety clarifications. Well, there's a whole lot of clarification that needs to come on with regard to motor safety with these stupid things. And anyway, I'm about to get off on a serious rant about this, and we've all heard me rant about these things, and I already did earlier. We're back to it again. Move on to something else. This one's kind of weird. This one goes back into the in the world of DoorDash. And so, good old Jamar Carter ordered his DoorDash, and then his DoorDash delivery person, a female, she goes to order his DoorDash. 20-year-old Jamar Carter, piece of crap, walks out of his residence, quote, completely naked. So she sees this crap and is like, shocked, drops the food, is how she described it. And this is Florida, of course, by the way, y'all. I know nobody's surprised by that. And must have been really hot or whatever. Okay, well, dude comes out. She drops the food. And, okay, you would think that might be the end of the incident. She was a little surprised. Got a tip that she wasn't looking for and departed. No. Dude comes after her, goes and grabs her from behind, and then physically assaults her. Jamal Dash, says Steve. So then she calls 911 as she's heading to her vehicle. Dude goes back. She gets in her vehicle, calls 911. Cops show up, and they interview Jamal Dash, and Jamal says, "Oh, I wasn't even home at the time." Well, smart cop says, "Hey, Jamal, let me see your phone, bud." Jamal, being dumbass, says, "Here's my phone, officer." They check his phone and see that he had a receipt for a DoorDash order. Again, dumb criminals. Thank God for stupid criminals. Makes solving some of this stuff a little quicker and easier. They looked in his email and saw that he had a receipt for a DoorDash order. So he was arrested and charged with attempted kidnapping. Apparently when he grabbed her, he must have started trying to proceed back towards his dwelling, and then attempted sexual battery. So, dumbass, don't dash. Just don't. What's wrong with people? And we're not even in the heat of the summer yet, and we got stupid crap like this going on. I can only imagine what's happening pretty soon. So, all right, moving to Colorado, and this is kind of an interesting one. Do you guys have military bases where you deliver food to, or you do rideshare to? So Fort Carson is a huge Army base out here in Colorado Springs. We have 5 military bases if you count the Air Force Academy, but Fort Carson is huge, has housing spread out all over the place, and both for DoorDash, it's a pain in the butt, and particularly rideshare. And they had such a bad base transportation system that literally people would. When I was doing this until about a year ago, I finally quit going on to Fort Carson, but they would let you'd get stuck on there for a couple hours, just running around all over base. And because, you got 30-mile-an-hour speed limits and you don't want to go one single mile over it, or else you're going to deal with the MPs and they can be really pissy about that type of stuff, that, you get stuck out there all day because their ridiculous little, system that they had, their base busing, we'll call it, even though it was just it was a shuttle van. The base shuttle was awful. And so people just order Uber and Lyft. And, well, now the answer is that now they're going to have an on-demand where they have an app and they can order a ride. And the city of Fountain, which is part of Fort Carson's attached to, that they're starting this program. They have 15 passenger vans, and people are going to be able to, they have designated pickup and drop-off locations. So again, this is the same as the shuttle places, but they can call on demand and get a pickup from these places. In addition to going all over, all over the base, that there's just off base, there's a Walmart over there, and there's some other shopping, Sam's Club and some other stuff over there. They're also going to be going off base to allow people to do shopping. This is all free. So this is great for the military. And I think it's a good solution because, frankly, me as a rideshare driver, And it drove me nuts because anytime I get near Fort Carson and I get Lyft rides, that I get ding, 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 trying to get me on base, and I just won't do it anymore because it takes too long. And so City of Fountain, I guess good for you for doing that. But what do you guys think? Is this really taking employment away from rideshare people? And what if they start doing it for delivery? Do you think this is a good idea, or do you think it's something that that helps out? I think it's something that helps out, and I'm not disappointed they're doing this. We've seen where a lot of cities are doing kind of similar things, and I got a different opinion on that. But hey, free ride, a little something extra for our military. Good for them for doing that. But yeah, Bubba Sue says, let's not kill our military in a Waymo. Yeah, absolutely. That's good. Waymo should be there at Fort Carson. No, Brian, what they should do is be on a tank track. And ironically, the maps are really, really bad. And there was one time I almost ended up on a tank track because of the stupid Lyft app was trying to get me to go down the tank trail. Getting me to go down the tank trail, and there's other drivers that has regularly happened to, and that was kind of a funny little side story I didn't even think about on there. But yeah, if they could put the Waymos on there and then put them on the tank trails and let the tanks just go do their thing, or put them out onto the range and let them dodge some fire, that'd be a great thing. Great use for Waymos and support of our servicemen and women. So good ideas, guys. Man, we got some good stuff coming out here tonight to be able to share with the world. Hopefully somebody's listening and know what to do with all those Waymos that finally get displaced, become their own displaced workers. Exactly, target practice. But anyway, so that's what we got going with that. And speaking of displaced workers, so have y'all heard the stupid crap from Dara? And I got a couple stories about him tonight, so I don't know. Guy's just such a clown, and he just looks like pure evil. He looks like Satan's sister or something like that. I don't know. He just doesn't. He looks like a jerk. I mean, he gives resting bitch face a whole new name. But anyway, I digress. So he goes and he's trying to be a little spin doctor about the stuff with autonomous vehicles, and it says, well, we're now recruiting fewer drivers in cities with self-driving taxis, as he refers to them. This is having fewer entrants in those markets ensures that drivers who are already in market, who are experienced, and who've been with us through this whole journey continue to earn. What the hell kind of stupid crap is that? And how does that even for a minute make any of this better? So, you can continue to earn, but you're going to compete with again, as I was talking about with the Los Angeles reference, make a $7 ride, but it'd be $30 if the driver took them. No, that's a bunch of crap. Good night, Brian. Where does he even think? What kind of cocky, arrogant, or gaslighting BS is he doing? I don't know. I just don't get this, but the good thing with all this, an interesting thing, is that moving on to the next one about Dara, is somebody's calling him out on his crap, not for this specifically, but about the statements that he's making about autonomous vehicles. And who do we got there? We got good old Ralph Nader going to spar with him. Yeah, Steve, right? Universal income. Well, good old now Ralph Nader is coming to everybody's aid, and he's come up in conversation a couple times lately with Steve and I. So Nader was he wrote a book back in 1965, The Unsafe at Any Speed, and this launched the modern day auto safety movement. Seat belts, laminated glass, other safety glass, a whole bunch of things. He really turned the automotive safety world upside down for the people that don't know Nader, but I think most of the people in this audience do know who Ralph Nader was, and so he's a guy in the blue boxing gloves, and so he wrote an open letter to Dara and stated that if you claim your technology is safe, you shouldn't fear a legal system of accountability. God, how brilliant is that, and how true is that, guys? So, I mean, so he's condemning, Dara for his little efforts that they're trying to make to limit legal liability for crashes involving both rideshare drivers and autonomous vehicles, because as we know, they got that $1 million liability reduced. And yeah, I think Nader hit on it. It's not about necessarily the rideshare drivers. And yeah, exactly, Steve. Put your gloves up. Put your gloves up, Ralph. So, anyway, so there's a ballot, the ballot initiative, and then there's an amendment that's sponsored by Congressman Vince Fong, that they're going to weaken the legal protections that he helped develop and other automakers have now supported. And this whole they're trying to loosen the whole product liability thing, which is already hard to litigate and prove product liability. And we've had those discussions over and over. But now, Congressman Fong wants to make it even worse, and they're getting support and lobbying by Uber with it. So their continued legislative changes that they went to in California, and now they're trying to get within the federal system, and they're just rapidly deploying these new vehicles, new technology, and this and that. And then meanwhile, we're sliding back downhill from a liability standpoint. And so Nader said, these efforts are not technical adjustments to litigation rules. They represent a fundamental attempt to undermine the rights of injured people and reduce corporate responsibility at the very moment rising autonomous systems are being tested on public roads at scale. I think that's exactly what we've been talking about, is that, don't put these things into market too early. And he's right. They're trying to make instead of trying to make stronger standards, they're trying to weaken the standards. Well, if these things are all as freaking wonderful as, Dara and Waymo and everybody and, Musk say, then make the standards stronger. Put your money where your mouth is, or shut the hell up and quit trying to weaken the standards. But that's exactly what they're doing, Ralph. You got it. You nailed it spot on with it. Steve says he'd fight Dara any day. All right. All right, guys, we are getting close here, but I promise you we're going to talk about eVTOL, and we are going to talk about eVTOL right here. I'm actually going to expand this picture a little bit for once, if I can. Give me a second. That is Honda's new F1. Yep, Honda as in the motor company Honda. And they have done their first little test flight this is really kind of funny. And Steve, you'll get a good laugh out of this. This kind of supports your cause about you and Bubba Sue about what a joke they are. But they wrote in their press release that they completed their first test flight, and it lasted about 90 seconds. This is kind of the same scale of Wright brothers. I think theirs only lasts like 5 seconds or something. That was probably when you saw the first AI, but because they did begin their R&D project in 2020, and then in 2021, they did launch a concept. And again, this is kind of more to help lean towards your, they're a little early in the game with it. So they did 400 flight tests using subscale models. So not sure exactly what all that entails, but this is kind of one of those that's coming from the infancy, I guess, from an embryo to an embryo to an embryo to an embryo, and then finally it birthed and it's at its infancy. And it's just kind of a slow growing thing, because even to Honda, Steve, to your credit, and Sue, Honda says that they don't look about having entry into service until the 2030s. So 2030, 2038, 2039, who knows? So, but it's kind of interesting. Instead of like Toyota's really hitched their wagon deeply with Joby, that Honda's going in and making their own. Well, Honda's also made their own little e-scooter too. So who knows if this is just some weird little pet project, or are they really serious about it? I mean, this stuff does cost a lot of money. So who knows? We'll just have to see what Honda's up to with everything, and how all that goes. That'll take you really far. The 90 seconds will take you really far. Yes, it will, Steve. So anyways, talking about taking things really far, we're done with episode 19. Thursday, come see Steve and I back at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then I will be doing episode number 20. Number 21, guys, I need you to hit me up with questions. Connect with me on Discord, connect with me on Instagram, shoot me an email at ridesharezone@gmail.com with your questions for Steve. We got to get some good questions in there. Come on, guys, don't delay. I need lots of good questions. I mean, I got plenty of stuff I can ask Steve, but I want to know about Steve and what makes Steve tick. And Steve, inquiring minds want to know, why'd you get rid of the porn stash? We're going to have to have that one answered on an upcoming episode if you don't address this issue now. So, it's either address it now or we'll address it then. But no, seriously, guys, Steve's going to be a guest, special guest, my first guest for my 21st episode. So look forward to seeing y'all there. But before then, we got episode 20, and we got Thursday coming. So we will see y'all there. You guys have an awesome evening. Thank you so much for hanging in there, hanging out with me, and y'all have a great week. Be safe.